podcast, hablemos de lo nuevo. 40Gs, Gs que pasa en el terreno. Vienen jugadores y se van, traiga lo nuevo a huevo. Doesn't matter where you from, Salvador, Mexico, Honduras, Nicaragua. Todo mi latino, come and listen for an hour. TikTok, que traemos lo que quiere, todo lo que pasa dentro y fuera de las redes. Really? You don't know what it is. Reportamos con la lupa what we see at the digs. En las buenas y en las malas yo diré la verdad. Si cometen un error o tienen habilidad, la calidad del rival cuando viene a jugar. Facts. Yo no me muerdo la lengua. Got love for the crest in the city I came from. Los campeones de campeones y con copas mi race. No empezamos el programa, soy la voz de LA One. Soy la voz de LA One. Love. Yeah.
Hello, hola, and buenas, and welcome back to La Cuna Galaxiana, a podcast always made with love for all you LA Galaxy fans, wherever you may be out there in the world, because you know the LA Galaxy is worldwide, y'all. Thank you so much for all you La Cuna Galaxians who are coming back and listening to us once again. Thank you for hanging out with us. We appreciate it. We love you for it. And man, may you get your blessings in heaven for it. Today, we're going to be reacting to the Galaxy's tough, disheartening 0-2 loss against FC Dallas on Saturday, June 13th. A sluggish performance from the Galaxy and a place that continues to be difficult to play for LA. And, you know, they had a sluggish performance. And, guys, I'm going to confess to you that we will probably have a sluggish performance as well. We've been having some technical difficulties today. The StreamYard here isn't being too kind to us, not letting us really mess with graphics and slides today, guys. So you guys are going to have to see our faces a lot more today. I'm sorry about it. And by our faces, I mean myself, one of your co-hosts, Rob Halon. You can find me online at El Escudero de LA, and you can find my written work at Extra Time Talk. And the other handsome face you guys get to see a ton of today is El Yerno Guapo, El Gitano Perdido, and my co-host, the ride or die G and homie, Ananda Kirana. Ananda, I would ask you how you're doing, but I know you're pretty frustrated about the slides thing. So, which one are you more frustrated about, this Galaxy loss or the slides?
No, it's gotta be the Galaxy loss, man. And it's funny, you took the words right out of my mouth, because that was my one word match reaction, was sluggish. Like, just it was ugly, right? It was completely ugly. I could go with either one of those, and you guys in the chat, go ahead and give us your one word match reactions. But before I get to that, Rob, I was just thinking while you were saying like that we're having all these, like, we're going on no graphics today, right? Man, this harkens back to original La Cuna, man. This is last year's La Cuna now all over it. So we should be used to this when and
it's group therapy.
And when we didn't see anyone in chat, right? Because guys, forget about graphics, forget about slides. This is our little kumbaya session now between all of us, you and I, as in you and I, Rob. There you go, yeah. Gary. There's that first one just for you, and all of y'all in chat. So, but of course, I am happy about one thing, which we will talk about a little bit later. And again, I will try to upload these slides if I can, so we can get the graphics on. But if not, got a great show for you guys today. Of course, a little kumbaya, a little sad foo session, a little group therapy session for sure. And of course, we have a great guest, because remember, we're playing a midweek game. So we've got a match preview as well with a friend of the show who we've had last year, and we're happy to have him back. Mr. Matt Pollard, and I am for sure going to bring that up because he definitely kicked off that ism in the show. But Rob, we got a lot of announcements. We got a lot of stuff to go to, a reaction, which hopefully we'll briefly go through because I don't want to dwell on that too much. And then, of course, the preview. And man, there's just a lot going on this week, both within soccer and outside of soccer. And that's the last time I'm going to be political on this show. But there's just a lot going on. So I'm going to get to my housekeeping, and then I'm going to turn it back to you, Papa. But guys, again,
get it.
That one word match reaction, go ahead and put it in the chat if you haven't yet, and we will definitely get to those. Pero you guys can always follow me, block me, or stalk me at Ananda Galaxiana, and you guys can always find us on all of our socials at La Cuna Galaxiana. And welcome back to the YouTube channel, guys and gals. And of course, If you are new here, welcome. We are happy to have you and happy to see you. And all you guys on playback as well, listening to this the day or a couple of days after. Welcome, everyone. And if you haven't yet and you like what you're listening to, you went through this little hour or so and you're like, hey, these guys are all right. Even though I'm seeing their faces a little bit more this particular episode, I think these guys are, they all right. So go ahead and Go ahead and give us that subscribe, guys. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Help us out. If you want to help out this channel, that's probably the best way to help us out at this moment. And of course, before y'all forget, go ahead and hit those likes. I don't know if we got any VPs of likes in the chat, but I'm sure they're going to tell you to go ahead.
Raw G already at it.
And smash that like button. Hit that like and share with the tias and tips. Yeah, there you go. And I think he meant tios. Yeah. And of course, as Rob always says, share the love and put someone on. And of course, Roberto, como siempre, antes de olvidarme, buenos días, tardes o noches y bienvenidos a otro capítulo de La Cuna Galaxiana. I gave you my one-word match, Papa. What about you? We got some in the chat too, but let's go to you.
Stinker.
Yeah.
They dropped a stinker, man.
Like Leah said, basura.
I mean, I was gonna say a steamy stinker, but steamy because it was so hot and humid and stuff like that. So yeah. I mean, if it's 2-word reaction, steamy stinker, or if one stinker, it just wasn't a good performance. Greg knows it. The team knows it. I think it's one of those ones that they're just like, damn, we really came out and did that. Oh man, this is. I mean, I'm pretty sure they're happy that they're playing on Wednesday, so they can go ahead and get this one behind them. And GCam says in the trap game, what you gonna do? I mean, I said, man, I was like, I don't feel good about this one. And everybody was like, no, man, trap game vibes, be damned. Go ahead and be positive. And I did call a win. And unfortunately, I called a 2-0 win, and it ended up being a 2-0 loss. Yes, Rameses, it was amargura for sure. It was bitter. And it was even more bitter because, we were hanging out at the York and hanging out with folks. And, I mean, people were just bummed out about it. But Ananda's right. We have a lot of shout-outs and announcements to get through. So let's get into them because we do have a reaction and a preview to bring you today. And we have a really fun guest, like I said, the straw that stirs a drink. So we'll get to him in a little bit. But even though we were bummed out, we have a couple of cool things happening in Galaxylandia this week. Chief among them, the LA Galaxy Retro Raid collection drops tomorrow. And guys, again, apologies on the graphics. I mean, we had these queued up for you so you guys can check out a couple of these pieces. I mean, it's just off a little bit today, guys. I mean, I don't have my strawberry horchata. The graphics aren't there. The Galaxy lost. So anyway, but we did have a couple of these, but the centerpiece of this collection, of course, is the new third kit, which harkens back to that 96 kit, the split, the green and black, just an incredible kit. What they've done with it, I mean, the detail is fantastic. My only gripe is it doesn't have any stars on it. Although I saw on the back collar, I believe it does have the 5 stars. Just doesn't have it on the chest. Of course, the shoes that accompany this jersey are fire as well. They're green shoes. This is Galaxy on the back. They're gazelles. I mean, I got to cop both of them. The Minister of Finance here in the Jalan house was not going to be very happy, but you know what? As your Minister of Finance would say, tarjetazo y Dios proveerá. So which means just put it on the card and God will provide. So that's what we're going to plan to do, guys. This collection runs deep. I mean, there's I've heard on various occasions that it's 60 plus pieces. Nelson Ariaza, who is the brand manager for the Galaxy, was in Discord the other day talking about that it was a 60-piece collection. That includes shirts, track jacket, pre-match tops, hats, you name it, scarves, and everything's going to be available at the Team LA store, MLSstore.com, and the Adidas store. If you want to get your hands on this quickly, the Team LA store is going to open tomorrow at 10 a.m. and already be selling these, of course, on Wednesday. Those will be there when you go see your LA Galaxy take on Colorado. So initially 50 pieces are going to drop, around 50 plus, going to drop tomorrow on the 16th. But then you also have some Galaxy creators that have linked up with the Galaxy to drop some exclusive things. Move in Silencio is dropping some items at Nikki Sports later this month. And they're going to be exclusive to Nikki's, Ananda. So if you want to go ahead and get exclusive pieces by Move in Silence, those are going to be at Nikki Sports. And shout out to Move in Silence. Of course, they were one of the first, man. I mean, like I've done interviews with the Niners from 1-2 Threads where they credit Move in Silence as like being like one of the catalysts for kind of pushing them into Galaxy creatordom and like kind of like having them push the envelope. So, they Move in Silence is very, very reputable and very well thought of, and I mean the designs are fire. So I mean, I don't know if you saw the picture of Mark wearing the new Move in Silence, Ananda.
Yeah, I saw that. Well, we had the graphic for it. Unfortunately, we can't show you guys right now because we're
we had a graphic, but StreamYard's being like suckers. So anyway, guys, so that's gonna be exclusive to Nikki's. Go ahead and support these independent Galaxy creators like Move in Silence. Because they put in a ton of work and they're going to see the fruits of those labors. So go out and support. I know that me and Ananda are going to drop by Nikki's and try to support. Ananda, I know this one's big for you because La Furia, they just came up on a title, baby. Congratulations to La Furia for beating England 2-1. Do you want to go ahead and do this one, man? I know that you were hype on this one.
Well, I mean, we watched the game together, but all I got to say is somos campeones y campeonas. Remember, the Spanish women won their trophy last year, right? On the back of a wonderful tournament by Aitana Bomati, who I don't know if you guys caught it last year, but she actually comes from the same hometown as my wife. So fun fact, pretty awesome there. She's kind of like a local hero. It's really cool. But I mean, man, I mean, let's put it this way, man. The best team won the tournament. I mean, we talk about the game. I think the game. Well, I'm going to let you talk about the game, but I'm just going to talk about the implications really quick. I think overall, I think the best team. I think the best team deserved to win. You think about the teams that they had to go through, right? They had to go through some tough teams. I mean, FIFA top ranked teams in the world. I mean, Germany, France beating England in the final. We played Italy in the group stage. We played Croatia in the group stage. I mean, those are some tough teams. And by the way, I believe I saw a stat that they are the first team to go undefeated on their way to a Euro Cup. So that is a very, very impressive. And yeah, I mean, the game, I'll let you kind of go through the goal scoring plays and kind of how it played out. But it was obviously nervy, but I think in the end, the quality just proved out. And I think Luis de la Fuente outcoached Southgate, at least from his style of play for sure. And I'll talk about de la Fuente in a little bit too.
Yeah, I mean, Southgate did say in the lead up that England had to be tactically perfect. They did pretty well, but they weren't perfect. And that's why Spain ends up winning this match. Nico Williams puts Spain up 1-0 in the 47th minute. And after that, it looked like Spain was cruising and England kind of got one back out of nothing through Cole Palmer. Spain controlled large portions of this match. I mean, and one of the things that kind of hurt me that I said over and over again to you yesterday is that Manu did not have a good game for England. I mean, it's unfortunate for me because Manchester United fan and a lot has been made about his talent and his promise, and he just didn't have a good game. And across the aisle, another youngster who has gotten a lot of praise is Lamine Yamal, and he did have a good game. I mean, he puts on the first goal for Nico Williams. He gets that assist, so I believe he finishes now the tournament with a goal and 4 assists. Again, what were you doing at 17? He just turned 17 the day before the final. And like you said, Ananda, I mean, this was a deserved championship. They were undefeated. They played the best ball, I feel like, in the tournament. Yeah. Turkey played some pretty good ball too, but Spain just from start to finish was consistent. They had some of the best players in the tournament. I mean, Rodri is a beast. I mean, there's that stat when he plays for Man City, like Man City doesn't lose. I mean, you see why. I mean, yeah, he's just fantastic. But Spain lost him halfway through this game, and they didn't miss a beat. Who came on for him?
Martin Zubamendi. So he plays for Real Sociedad. By the way, he is. I mean, I saw
Zubamendi had a fantastic game.
I saw Judge Sophie talk about it. Shout out Sophie if you're listening or wherever you are. But she was saying, again, from an Arsenal perspective, like, she argued that Zubamendi actually had a better second half than Rodri's first half, which I could see that. As well as, man, he would be an amazing him or Miguel Merino, who scored the game winner the last game. I mean, those are two really, really going to be hotly contested midfield targets, I think, for a lot of big teams in Europe, including the Arsenal, who were looking for a number 8 and number 6 or 8, right, to partner up with Declan Rice. But yeah, man, going back to Rodri, I mean, he arguably is the best player in the world. I mean, look at all the accolades, his team accolades, the past just 2-3 seasons, right? I think Guardiola's turned him into an absolute beast. I think not only the best midfielder in the Prem, I think he's arguably the best player in the world. I mean, he outclassed the likes of Mbappe, those cats that always gets the praise, right? I mean, he outclassed all of those. So
yeah, and he does it from a position that you don't normally associate with like big headlines like that, right? But yeah, like I said, Spain loses him. Zubamendi comes on. They don't miss a beat. If anything, like Judge Sophie mentioned, they probably played better. And it just quality rises to the top. I mean, they as well as England did. Like I said, they needed to be tactically perfect. They weren't. They had 2 lapses, and their 2 lapses hurt them. Spain gets the game winner through Mikel Oyarzabal in the 86th minute off a sweeping counterattack. Cucurella puts on the inch-perfect pass for him to basically slide into, and he beats the England defense there, and that's how it ends, 2-1. Fantastic achievement by the Spanish teams. Like Ananda mentioned, now they have men's and women's champions, and I mean, I think it does a lot to kind of help restore a little bit the reputation of this federation, who got hit really hard with the Rubiales thing. So it's good to see them be able to revel in this moment of deserved celebration. It's really good for them.
And what a fantastic job. I got to call out Luis de la Fuente. I mean, I talked about it. I waxed lyrical about him even before the final and the last one. But you think about the job that he did, and you think about the other coaches that arguably has more talent. You look at teams like England, like France, even Germany. They arguably have more talent on paper than the Spanish team, Robert. I didn't see a lot of people picking the Spanish team, winning this tournament, pre this tournament. But you look at the job that De La Fuente's done. He's won the UEFA Nations League and now the 2024 Euro Copa. In his first 2 major quote unquote tournaments, right? I mean, that's a huge achievement. And on top of that, I mean, you look at on the other end, like Southgate, you've got talent there just rotting on that bench, Rob. I mean, you got Cole Palmer, who came in and scored the goal. Why is he not starting, right? And then you've got guys like Harry Kane, who's actually just played a horrible tournament. I mean, Ollie Watkins, who came on and scored the game winner for their last game. I thought he was a better. So you look at that coaching job versus the opposite side of De La Fuente. I mean, you see these kids coming off the bench. Oyarzabal, who scored the winning goal. Mikel Merino. Dani Olmo, who as soon as Pedri got injured, we were like, oh, man, all the Spanish fans were worried. But Dani Olmo has proved to be a promising talent, and he's really nurtured that. It's a good coaching job to nurture all that talent and for them to come in and just rise to the top. And I've seen a lot of media outlets report this, and I agree with them that this is the most united team in the tournament as well. I think they all
talk about family a lot.
And even you see it in the celebrations today too. Morata was like the MC or whatever. And I guess we lost Rob for a minute, guys. Sorry about that. StreamYard is just being really, really weird today. But yeah, just a great job by Spain. And like I said, a great coaching job, I think, by Luis de la Fuente. Yeah, I mean, let's see, guys. Sorry. We're having so many difficulties today, but let's see if we can get him back on. Give me 1 second, guys. This is the beauty of doing a live show, by the way. Let's see. I'm gonna see what you guys are saying in the chat real quick. Comments you see in both Copa and Euros: death of world-class center mids, Kroos, Modric, dying breed. Rodri's and one of the few left. Papa, you left me. But sorry, I was hanging out with chat. It's StreamYard today, brother. I'm telling you.
Bro, like they no quieren hoy día. They don't like us today. But guys, I mean, we're gonna keep on trucking for you because this is a pod always made with love for you guys. And apologies for the the technical difficulties. It is kind of bootsy. We don't like it either. But anyway, where'd you leave us? Did you go ahead and give us the hot tip about the U.S. men's job?
Well, that was what I was going to get to next before I was hanging out with chat. Comment says Frank greatly missing Pogba. That's a really good point. I've seen that coverage as well. But yeah, did you? This is a weird one. I look, I don't think it's going to happen. But apparently, the Washington Post was reporting that Luis de la Fuente's agents or his representatives were in contact with the U.S. men's national team for that job. Now, look, I don't believe. I don't know where their sources came from. I personally don't believe it. Like, if you're Rubiales, you're in a great project. Like, why would you go to an absolute dumpster fire, right, of an organization and sort of going into that situation? But as you always say to me, you've seen weirder things happen. But I don't believe this one for a moment. And by the way, I saw another one this morning, which is interesting. Rafa Benitez. I mean, yeah, names are just being thrown out left and right, Papa. It's crazy.
Well, you know what? I'm not mad at the kind of hey, let's see what we can come up with, I mean, yeah. And I'm not mad at the ambition to go out and try to get the current European winning manager, why not? Let's aim big for the US Federation, But yes, I agree. You wouldn't first off, I don't see the Rafa Benitez thing happening. And then second off, I don't see the La Fuente thing happening either. I mean, you mentioned a dumpster fire. Why would he? Why would he? Right?
No.
And there's no reason to. But
yeah, exactly.
Speaking of dumpster fires, there was speaking of dumpster fires, there was another match that took place, another final, and it was Copa America. And man, I really wish we had those slides because we curated a couple of choice photos for you guys on the lead up to this match, and it was rough. It was everything you did not want to see in a soccer match, and it kind of gave people a lot of worries heading into the World Cup in a couple of years. But if you guys aren't up on game, the Copa America final was between Argentina and Colombia. It happened in Miami at Hard Rock Stadium. People were there hours ahead of the match. Of course, it is Miami, so the sun was beating down on everybody, 90-plus weather, and everybody was trying to get into this match. If you guys, G Cam says, Raquinho snuck into the stadium. I bet he was there too. There were even dogs at this match who, in the crush to get in, got let go by their owner and hopefully made its way back to the owner. But yeah, man, Ananda, people were getting slammed against fences. There was people getting crushed. There was people saying that they legitimately feared for their lives. And eventually the authorities at the stadiums had to let people just go in because they were getting crushed against the fences. So they had to open the fences and let the mass of people come in so that they didn't get crushed. And that led to a lot of people who came in that didn't have game tickets, didn't go through security, could have brought in whatever, and they did. I mean, there was pictures of people who had full vodka bottles. Reminded me in my younger days sneaking in stuff to the digs. Of course, back in those days, it was the Home Depot Center. But yeah, man, it was a cluster. And it was. Hey, there we go. Do we have them?
This is totally like back of the woods stuff. You guys are actually seeing my entire screen, but I'm gonna try to make it work. So let's try this.
Oh man, look at that technology. Anyway, yeah. So it was crazy, guys. It did delay the start of the match. Ananda and I, he mentioned we saw the Euro final together. We were going to watch the Copa America final as well. And yeah, we sat around for a good long while waiting for this to start. Of course, we were seeing the reports come in, and we were seeing everybody just horrified at what was going on. And you know what? I wasn't there. I don't want to assign blame to anybody, but it's evident that there was big failings on the part of security to go ahead and get this game situated correctly, put in, pre-check barriers for people that didn't have tickets. And then also, I mean, you saw images of people just climbing fences and stuff like that. So, the behavior of people there wasn't the best either. So everybody just failed, man. Everybody did terrible. We need to do better, especially in a couple years when the World Cup comes around. But when the game did start, an hour and 23 minutes too late, It was a hotly contested affair. Very, very rough and tumble game, as you would expect in this one. And in the end, we didn't see any moments of Messi magic. He left injured in the 66th minute. If you saw him come off, you saw him, a man who was very, very upset to come off injured. His ankle looked super swollen, and it reduced him to tears. Sidebar, I saw a lot of commentary praising Messi for being upset that he wouldn't be able to play, for his dedication to the team. I don't have an agenda here. I just want to say that I feel like it's wrong that when Ronaldo cried, everybody was like, oh, he's a crybaby, blah, 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 blah. But the narrative when Messi cries is like, oh, he cares so much. All I'm going to say on that. Again, I don't have an agenda. I'm not a Ronaldo fan. I'm not a Messi fan.
I saw Sophie say the same thing too. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, in fact, people are gonna be like, "Oh, he's a Ronaldo fan." No, I mean, I'm a United fan, and the way he left United this last time, like, really, really, really got to me. So, if anything, I'm kind of anti-Ronaldo, but I don't like the unfairness, and so I just had to call that out really quick. But in the end, we did see potentially the end of an era because Leo Messi came off injured. He didn't finish this game. Who knows if he will play for Argentina again? But in the end, Argentina was able to get it done without him. Lautaro Martinez scored in the 112th minute. Good subs by Scaloni, who brought in Martinez, Lo Celso, and Paredes at the same time. All three were involved in this game-winning play. In the end, Argentina wins Copa America 1-0. They have now won the Copa America, the World Cup, and the Copa America back to back to back. So congratulations to Argentina. And now my plea is for somebody to come knock them off their perch now. Go ahead. Well, we do have a finalissima coming up in 2025, which will be Spain versus Argentina. So Spain, do your thing, man. Really quick, let's keep it going here. VCFC update. Their last match was El Traficito against LAFC 2. It ended 1-1 in regulation, and then they VCFC won in penalties 5-4. That game happened on Sunday, July 14th. VCFC is now 7 of 7 in shootouts. They are now up to third in the standings, and they have 6-7-4 record. They're on 32 points. They have not won in regulation in the past 6 matches, however, though, Ananda. So that stat keeps on growing. They are picking up points, but they aren't winning in regulation. So, if there's a something to look at real quick, that's that right there. That next up, they'll be against Portland Timbers 2 at the Willy Roll on Sunday, July 21st at 7 p.m. Ananda, I did bring some news out on Friday here that the Galaxy supporter groups were being punished for their role in the Rose Bowl match, lighting flares. Yes, and now we have the graphics back. So MLS saw fit to punish them $100K, and the supporters groups are now subject to league oversight. This is also after the supporters served a 1-match ban last week, and they weren't allowed to bring in exempted items. The quote from MLS: supporter privileges for all LA Galaxy supporter groups, inclusive of home and away matches, are indefinitely suspended pending the completion of MLS and LA Galaxy's comprehensive review. So it'll be interesting to see where this one goes, when the review will finish. Will it be consistent with other league punishments? So we'll update you guys on this as it happens. Guys, we did let you know Riqui Puig is going to be in that MLS All-Star game. He's also going to compete an MLS All-Star Skills Challenge on Tuesday, July 23rd. Before the All-Star game, he'll participate in the passing touch and cross and volley challenges for a second time. Some of his teammates, illustrious teammates, will include Jordi Alba, Federico Bernardeschi, Sergio Busquets, and Lucho Acosta. Make sure to check that one out on All-Star Weekend. And of course, the Galaxy could potentially have another All-Star go into this game with Leo Messi's injury, that big old ankle injury, plus Chicho Arango being out, suspended for 4 games due to anti-harassment policy. Who knows? 2 replacements are needed, and now Gabriel Peck might be one of those guys. We'll bring you more information on that as we hear it, but he certainly at least deserves a look. So Chicho Arango will be suspended for 4 matches. He'll be suspended for those next 2 Real Salt Lake regular season games, one against LAFC, the MLS All-Star game, and July 24th, which is Real Salt Lake's first Leagues Cup match. Congrats to Mark Delgado. He became the 15th active player in MLS to make 300 career MLS regular season appearances. Of course, he debuted in 2012 with Chivas USA at the age of 16. He's tallied 22 goals and 37 assists in 300 career games. And, of course, we end here with some team news. Isaiah Parente, he was signed for the rest of the year by the Galaxy, and then he has an option for 2 years as well. And they further bolster their roster by signing Ruben Ramos Jr. to another short-term contract. That's the second one for him. Of course, these short-term contracts allow these players to be signed 4 times to short-term contracts. So that's the second one for him. He's one of and of course, he was just recently named to the U.S. U20 men's youth national team, competing in the U20 championship in Mexico. He's one of only 3 players born after 2007 to make the team. And of course, it's a reward for his good work this year. I mean, he won the U17 MLS Next Cup. He has 5 goals and 2 assists so far for VCFC this year. And I guess now we have to talk about this dreadful, dreadful game, right, Ananda?
Yeah, and real quick, I want to acknowledge this comment too, because this is what a lot of the Galaxy chatter. So shout out, Galaxy Runs LA. He runs an Instagram page. Actually, he is our starting one of our left wingers actually for La Cuna Patada, Rob. He posted basically your post that you talked about with the fines and everything, and this is a lot of what Gary's saying here. Was a lot of the sentiment, and there was obviously a lot of nice back and forth between Galaxy and LAFC fans. But yeah, I mean, I just wanted to acknowledge this because I know this is kind of the sentiment around the Galaxy fan base for sure, and that we're getting the rough end of the stick here.
You know what, I may get canceled for this one. And you know what, like hold the hate, but it seems consistent with what LAFC got, and so far. And what I mean so far is because LAFC also got 100K, and they got an indefinite ban as well. It ended up only lasting for pretty much 1 match because they were allowed to bring in whatever they wanted to MLS Cup, and it didn't really carry over. So it seems like it was only 1 match. So if MLS wants to make this consistent, Galaxy maybe gets 1 match out of this, and that's what I mean about keeping it consistent. But the at least the number fine is the same. They copped 100K as well. I did ask Don Garber at the beginning of the season when he was there for Inter Miami versus Galaxy if he felt that LAFC had served their ban, and he said yes, even though they hadn't played any games beyond that because MLS Cup, was the last game of the season. So, again, if this is consistent with their punishment, then fine. I just want it to be the same. I just want it to be equal. Again, with the whole Ronaldo and Messi discourse, just have it be equal. Same thing here. Have it be equal. They got 100K. Galaxy got 100K. Indefinite ban. But now let's see how long it lasts. If they really want to be equal, then it'll last 1 match. If not, then there's obviously bias. So
yeah, well, that's good for me. That's at least the facts kind of set me straight, because I wasn't sure what was what. But okay, yeah, that's that. I mean, the facts are the facts. I guess that sounds fair enough to me for sure. So thanks for setting the record straight on that.
Let's set the record straight on this Dallas game. Well, let's set the record straight. The Galaxy were poor. They played their first of 3 games in the span of 7 days, and they did not start well. They fell 2-0 on the road in Dallas, in Frisco. And they haven't won there since 2015, and that stat still continues. In 41 all-time regular season matches played on the road against Dallas, the Galaxy hold a 9-25-7 record. Edwin Cerrillo returned home. He is a Dallas-bred boy. He played his first game on the road against FC Dallas. He won 9 possessions and completed 95% of his passes. And guys, this is the first time this year that the Galaxy loses when Diego Fagundes starts. So that streak is broken now. Ananda, let's start where we always start. Let's go with this lineup here.
Yeah, let me see if I can add this. So back in the woods, man. You guys are seeing my whole presentation. Woo! Awesome. But yeah, so let me take this thing off. But yeah, so like you said, Diego started, but unfortunately didn't get the results that we wanted. Of course, the big talking point here is that we did not go with our prediction, Rob, which was Miguel Vanney at the number 9. We tried a combination, I would say, of like Paintsil and Fagundes, and even Peck going to that number 9 position at times. I think it was very, very fluid, and I think, well, I'll say this partly, but I think there's more to this. But I think, obviously, that without that central focal point in the office, I think it's really tough, especially to get those quick hitting 1-2 plays. You know, Dejan's very underrated in that part of his game. We've seen a lot of his connections this year, a lot of Gabriel Peck's goals even through that sort of 1-2 connection in and inside the box. So I think that was just a really tough thing to lose, man. And you know, Miguel Vanney's not that same type of player. But again, I don't necessarily think the lack of fluidity was due to the lack of a straight number 9. I think part of it too was the sluggishness of the rest of the team and the lack of energy, which I know we'll talk about as well.
Well, StreamYard kicked me out again, but I caught the tail end of that.
They didn't even recognize because I had this graphic up. So there you go. See, I'm trying to cover it up, Papa.
Yeah, but you know, I want to be legit with the folks, man. What did you leave off with?
Just the fact that I felt like the lack of a number 9 was. I mean, we tried to play a square peg in a round hole and didn't work, but I don't think it was necessarily down to personnel of why we lost this game. I think the bigger reason was just a complete lack of energy, lack of effort, sluggishness, you know, whatever you want to attribute to, humidity, or the team wasn't ready. I think that was the largely contributing factor. You could have played Zlatan, Messi, and Robbie Keane up there, and we would have won that game. So
there was no energy, man. Just like you said. Well, Dallas got their goals either side of halftime. Peter Musa, who we spoke about the last pod, the Galaxy needed to be aware of. Well, he got his goal. They weren't aware of him, and he walked away with scoring. I believe now he has 6 in 7 matches. John McCarthy initially makes a save, but then Peter Musa picks up the rebound and he slams that one to the back of the net. And then, man, this second one is disappointing because it's just like a defensive lapse, man, that the Galaxy go through. Long ball over the top, but Iramendi, Farrington collects, and he just basically gets through on goal. Just unopposed. So this one ends 2-0. Galaxy unfortunately don't create a lot of offense in this one. In 13 road matches played now in 2024, they hold a 5-4-4 record. This is the 4th time this season now that the Galaxy has been held scoreless. Of course, 2-0 to both Texas teams, Austin and Dallas. In 10 games played dating back to May 25th, they hold a 7-3-0 record. They've averaged just 1.46 goals on the road versus 2.27 at home. And they're also averaging 1.46 points per game on the road. The Galaxy haven't done great on the road this year, but take heart, guys, because of the remaining 10 matches in the league this year. They'll be playing 6 at home, 4 away. 2 of them are going to come up pretty quick here. We're going to be talking about one of them here with our friend Matt Pollard in a moment. Galaxy's opponents to be played in home games currently have a combined average of 1.14 points per game. On the flip side, they'll be visiting teams that collect 1.72 points per game at home. So obviously they have a little bit of a tougher time on their away matches coming up. So anyway, Ananda, what do you got for us in terms of stats on why this team was so poor?
Yeah, the less said about this one, the better. But I'm going to pull this up again. Back of the woods graphics there, guys. Sorry about the tech issues. But this was a game to forget for the LA Galaxy. We had more of the possession, 64-36. But again, as we always say, it's, what does Greg say? Death by 1,000 passes, right? It's kind of sideways and backwards, and it doesn't go anywhere. XG, like that's probably one of the lowest XGs I've seen this season. We didn't create anything. 0.4 versus Dallas's 1.38. 9 total shots versus their 18. only one shot on target, Rob. That's the big one for me. I mean, you're not
Yeah.
going to do anything with one shot on target. Unfortunately, it is what it is. But again, like, our accurate passes looks great. We doubled the amount of accurate passes, but again, possession for possession's sake is not a winning formula. And again, the less said I think about those stats, the better. But I want to bring up an interesting point here that Raul G brings up. And I think I'm just going to bring it up and have us to noodle on. But he says, feels like this team plays down to their opponent's talents instead of taking advantage of these games and moves us up the standings. I would partially agree with that. But I think if you look at, I heard Josh bring this up in the corner of the galaxy, and I saw him tweet about it too. The common denominator with all the three of our losses on the road, you think about that Chicago loss, you think about the Austin loss that we were unfortunately there for in person. Common denominator is no Decky, right? That's a huge miss, whether you guys like it or not. The other thing too is, remember, I think Chicago, if I'm not mistaken, was also at the end of a 3-game in 1 week. This unfortunately was not. This was the start of it, but again, that heat and humidity. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to chalk it up to excuses, but man, the team they looked awful. They didn't look like the team that I've been seeing this year in terms of our energy. I mean, we were second to every ball. We were second on 50-50s. It was just not our game. And I knew it from the first time. We were like, there's no way for us in this game for sure. And I think I'm going to attribute it to more than that. I think Decky's a part of it, but I think it's just the whole team's energy levels were just not up for the challenge.
Yeah, you hit on both of them. Greg said, and I quote, "I felt like watching us play was a little bit of underwater soccer sometimes, just with the humidity and the heat, and we just didn't manage it well." And he actually started off that quote by saying that the problem was that there was no Dejan to lead the line. And you're right, they played with the false nine with Diego, JP, Gabriel Peggy, and no one really made a dent in anything. Greg also said he didn't want to make excuses, but he did say, and again, a quote, again, conditions have something to do with that, but we just never got to it, and we suffered the result because of it. So we've got to leave this one behind us and recover and get back for the 2 big home games ahead of us this week. Just like you said, we got to leave this one behind. This one was dirty. It was ugly. But one of the things that I guess we finally got Greg to concede, or at least acknowledge, was that they missed Dejan. And he did mention that he started with Miguel Berry on the bench because he wanted to save his legs for the second half. He was asked if offensive reinforcements are being looked at, and he said it's something in consideration. Will and the guys are figuring through our resources and what options are available. Certainly things we've talked about. So it looks like at the very least they need another option for Miguel Berry when Dejan's not available. It looks like they're looking at that. Greg did say that there wasn't a lot to take hit heart with in this one, but the silver lining was that they did get the kids some minutes. Ruben Ramos got to play. Amiro Garces saw his first extended time. Mauricio Cuevas showed well again. In fact, he almost got a goal from nothing, from just a thunderbolt of a shot. Continues to impress Cuevas, and Isaiah Parente looked great in his cameo as well. He came on for Mark Delgado, played the second half. Delgado, no injury. He was just feeling the conditions basically, and Parente deputized pretty well. And so I mean, this was the silver lining in this match that the kids got to play. The other silver lining is that the Galaxy didn't lose any ground. Ananda, do you want to let these folks know why?
Well, it was interesting, right? I mean, we even started even before this game kicked off. I believe, we're looking at the Supporter Shield race. Cincinnati lost their match to start the day, and then of course we played our game and dropped an absolute stinker. I'm like, oh great, we're gonna lose ground now. But luckily, we got out of the woods, Rob, somehow, because the other two teams in the Western Conference that we're chasing also both lost their games. RSL losing, that was a very, very interesting game, and of course, the kicker of the night, the 5-1 thumping of LAFC by Columbus. That was a crazy game. Lots of red cards. I think a lot of implications there in terms of who they're going to be missing for their next match against RSL, funny enough. So that's going to be an interesting one. But yeah, we didn't lose any ground. So it's like, 10 game, we're going to that 10 game stretch, right, for the rest of the season. I flashed it up on the screen there. Is it time to scoreboard watch? I mean, guys, I think now we're at that time where we're jockeying for position. I feel like every point dropped on the opponent's end counts, every point gained or 3 points gained on our side. It's starting to become a factor now. And I mean, these three teams are tied for first in the Western Conference, right? So it's all to play for in these last 10 games. I think, this match that we're going to preview with Matt in just a second here, I think that makes this first game, especially after coming Robert. Remember, we've lost our last 2 of 3 games. This is a very important game against a Colorado team that should not be underestimated. Even if they're going to be missing a couple key players. So again, I think it is time to scoreboard watch just a little bit, but more than anything, we got to focus on ourselves for sure.
Well, I did scoreboard watch a little bit. Colorado tied New York Red Bulls 1-1 in their last match. So now they're just 5 points behind the Galaxy. And yeah, they've looked really good. They have a couple players out. We'll get to that in a moment. But yeah, Ananda, for the first time ever, we made the option of having no one be the winner of defending the badge. With 23 million votes, the people have spoken and they have picked no one.
For there it is. No one
defending the badge winner. Look at Casper go. Yeah, look at him do his thing. So guys, you've picked no one as your defending the badge winner. Of course, if anybody had been in the running for that one, it probably would have been Parente or Cuevas for me. But yeah, I mean, really nothing. I mean, the crowd kept it real. The audience kept it real. We're gonna keep it real with you guys. We just dropped an absolute. Yeah. It was garbage. It was basura. They know it,
just like someone said. Yeah, they know it. Let's keep it a buck, right? Rob, having said that though, let's close the books on this. Is the last time I want to talk about this game.
The Galaxy have an opportunity to put this one behind them, and they have an opportunity to do so in 2 days. And here to help us talk about this new opportunity at life for the Galaxy.
I do got to flash this though. This is an amazing pick. I don't care about our technical difficulties. This is an amazing pick that deserves to be flashed. So
I know, man. Yeah. Look at this Wapo over here. Of course, he is a friend of the show. He was on the show last year, and we're glad he's back. Please welcome back, friend of the show. I mean, from my hometown, the managing editor of Burgundy Wave and the co-host of Holding the High Line and Raps 96 podcast, Matt Pollard. ¿Cómo estás, papá?
Todo bien. ¿Y tú, usted?
Oh, man. Feliz de verte otra vez.
Yeah.
Bienvenido de nuevo.
Welcome back. Welcome back in all caps. Yeah, man. It's been a while. So, we talk about you quite often on the pod, though. I got to let you know.
Thanks. I appreciate that, Rob.
We
certainly.
You said something
I hope
year.
I brought some joy to you guys on 4th of July, given what happened, unfortunately, at the Rose Bowl. But no, the 4th of July for the Rapids goes back to 1996, and it's at least up in the press box amongst the members of the press. It's our equivalent of the Met Gala. So I brought out the drip, and it was effective in terms of the Rapids getting a result against Sporting Kansas City. We'll see what my away day game attire is for Wednesday.
Well, we always harken back to one brilliant line that you said the first time you were with us. Ananda, do you want to share with him?
The straw that serves the drink, and that's what we talk about. That's our little ism for Riqui Puig now. And it's funny because every time we hear someone else say, I'm like, oh yeah, the Matt Pollardism. We remember that. Yeah. So that is your signature. Yeah. Exactly.
I appreciate that. I feel so seen, gentlemen.
Oh, bro, like you changed my word with that line. I was like, wow, that's nice. I like that. So anyway, that was the first time you were here, guys. If you haven't seen that, it's in the back catalog. We had a lot of fun that time too. Looks like we're gonna have fun this time too. A lot different than when you were with us last year. I mean, the Rapids were terrible. The Galaxy was terrible. Everything seems to have switched up. These clubs look like new clubs this year. Of course, there was a fan protest in Los Angeles. There's a fan protest in Colorado. Tell us what the culmination of the fan protest was, and you know what the outcome for the better things that obviously gotten better. What have you seen?
There was an open letter from KSC that no one believes Josh Kroenke actually wrote, or he signed off on it. He spent 30 seconds reading it. I think where the real positive has been, whether or not fans want to admit it, is that the front office has spent in ways that they have not spent previously. The previous transfer record for the Rapids was 2015 for Juan Ramirez for $2.7 million. They have now dropped a believed $7 to $8 million, depending on combined performance incentives, on Rafael Navajo and George Georgi Mihailovic, who, if we're excluding Tim Howard as a goalkeeper in, the latter stage of his career, unquestionably are the two best, most talented DPs in the history of the club. You combine that, I think, with the front office taking accountability to correct things on the roster. And Rob, Ananda, I don't know who had this on their bingo card. Who had Chris Armas coming back into Major League Soccer and actually being good from a coaching standpoint? LA Galaxy legend Chris Armas as well, I should point out. The vibes are completely better. There's no question from a roster turnover standpoint and from the players who were here last year who feel an obligation to correct things for them individually, for the club as a collective as well, that they've absolutely raised the floor of where this club was at previously. We're looking at, if the Rapids got a couple good results right now, they'll be at a point total this week that was good enough to make the playoffs last year in the Western Conference. So they've raised the floor, they've changed the vibes. Winning solves a lot of that problem. Obviously, I think Rapids fans will take 4 red cards and a 6-0 loss on Wednesday if it means the Rapids get to win the Rocky Mountain Cup on Saturday. But the only question I have right now long-term for this club is where this team's ceiling is at. This is a club that has not won a playoff game since 2016 against the LA Galaxy with Tim Howard in that PK shootout as well. But yeah, things are—
That would hurt.
They're so much better, Rob. There's so much. I can't tell you how much happier everyone is to come out to Dick's Sporting Goods Park, even when it is 100 degrees at kickoff. And oh my God, I drank so much water on Saturday.
I bet, man. I did one of those Copa America matches in Phoenix, and that was Narbar. It was trash. Anyway, I'm glad to hear that the vibes are so good. I mean, similarly in Galaxy Land,
Rob?
I mean,
yeah,
exactly. Similarly in Galaxy Land, they're up as well. On the Galaxy side, a lot of Galaxy fans would credit Will Kuntz with, being the chef. He's cooking. He's turned it around, right? A lot of people would be loath to kind of say it's Greg Vanney. For the Rapids, who's getting a lot of the love or praise for this turnaround?
He hasn't gotten a lot of the praise yet because I still think there's a lot of fans who have begrudging feelings towards him. But certainly Porrick Smith, what he's done as president, and I would say pseudo GM. I can't remember what Fran Taylor's official role is. It's either general manager or technical director, but very much Porrick's hands are all over this current turnover that we had in terms of every single player who was retained from last year and every single signing that they've had since. I think certainly Chris Armas deserves a lot of credit as well, Rob. I am already prepping. I have an article in Stub for when the Rapids qualify for the playoffs that is literally titled, "We owe Chris Armas an apology. You probably do as well." And so I think he's done an absolutely fantastic job. But I think this is definitely a thing for the collective. Colbasis looked way better. There's not a single player who was on the roster last year who is worse right now than they were last year, and every single player who has come in as well, I think certainly has been better than what they were in their previous club situation. There was a narrative going around the team, certainly in preseason. Previously in the Rapids history, we would say, the island of misfit toys or having revenge energy. On HTHL, we called it Revenge of the Island of Misfit Toys. It's a really long name to listen out, but right now it's been—
I want to watch that movie.
Yeah, it's been something to prove FC, and so I think Georgi Mihailovic, given what happened to him at in the Netherlands, and obviously what that meant for him with the national team, he's proved that certainly. Cole Bassett has absolutely kicked all of the rust that was on him from his time as well in the Netherlands with 2 loan stints at Feyenoord and then at Fortuna Sittard, which both ended very disappointingly for him. We're still waiting for 2021 Sam Vines to come back, really, but that's certainly a better version. I'd like to see Zach Steffen have some better, post-shot XG numbers as well, but Andreas Maxu, better in his second year. Moise Bombito could get sold to Leon this week for upwards of $6, $7, $8 million as well. Oliver Leroux's working his way into the roster. I go down the look of every single guy. There's not a single guy, wherever they were, Rapids or otherwise, in 2023, that's not better right now today. So it's absolutely been— the Rapids need to win by being more about the collective than, say, an individual star. There's no Zlatan Ibrahimovic. There's no Landon Donovan or Robbie Keane on this team. So they're doing it as a collective. They deserve credit as a collective.
It's interesting that you said that every player is better on this team. Of course, there is one ex-Galaxy player on the team that everybody likes to check up on every now and then. Even Kevin Cabral, guys, is out there and he's balling and doing his thing. I believe he has 4 goals, 4 assists at the moment. and that's, if anybody had told a Galaxy fan Kevin Cabral has 4 goals, 4 assists through about 2/3 of the season, they would be like, no, that's a lie. He's not doing that. But I mean, even Kevin Cabral has turned it up. What's been the best part of this year so far for you, as somebody that covers this team that last year obviously had to cover a team that was objectively terrible, just like I had to cover a team that was objectively terrible. What's been the best part of covering this team this year?
I think there's just so many storylines of just little things that are happening that seem to be a net positive. It's the, Rob, this time last year, I was grasping at straws. I was trying to find something that was positive. And at some point, it was pointless to recap a particular game or talk about the nuances of what happened in 90 minutes, because every single game was the same. We knew what the roster was going to be. We knew what the lineup was going to be. We knew the Rapids were going to come out, try and build out of the back. Danny Wilson was going to turn the ball over. The opponent was going to get one chance. They were going to score. Heads were going to drop. The team was going to lose 3-1, 4-0. It didn't really matter. Like, if Groundhog's Day was a horror movie that ends in Bill Murray like getting buried and eaten by groundhogs, that's what every single Rapids game was from like April 15th on through the end of the year. And so it was just, it's hard to come up with, how do I re-ask Robin Fraser or a player the same question for the 10th time when nothing is changing? And every single game, there's been a nuance. There's a new story. There's something else to tell. There's some interesting thing that from a reporting standpoint is fun to report on, even when it doesn't lead to a Rapids win. That makes it interesting. That makes it fun. It was a comeback for the Rapids and a better defensive performance against Sporting Kansas City. It was Ali Larraz getting his first goal. He's been fantastic as a homegrown, finally getting an opportunity after being a starter and cooking for 2 years with Rapids 2. On Sunday against St. Louis FC, it was an absolute blowout, and you had Darren Yapi scoring his first goal after, as a homegrown, he spent 3 years with the team, 53 appearances, and 1,535 minutes played. You think that Kevin Cabral had a hard time at the LA Galaxy? He did not spend almost 1,600 minutes on the field without scoring his first goal in Major League Soccer. And the entire team goes down. He knee slides into the corner. The entire team goes down dog piles. There's not a guy left on the bench. I think Chris Armas got a yellow card for entering the play of the field, and it was all good vibes and it was fun. And then this past week, we had the narrative of Omer Fernandez and Chris Armas and the revenge tour that ultimately wasn't against the Red Bulls. But to your point, Rob, about Kevin Cabral, what's really impressed me about Kevin is I think he's done a really good job of understanding what he's good at, and the team fits in tactically with what he's able to do, and he's focusing more on what are the positives of what I can do rather than the negatives of what I'm not doing. Kevin Cabral has turned into an absolutely miserable winger to go and attack. He has helped out Sam Vine so much, mostly on the left, where he had the goal and the assist against St. Louis. He was playing on the right with Keegan Rosenberry, all-star captain Keegan Rosenberry, by them well, but his defensive work rate has been absolutely fantastic. And that game against St. Louis was really the first time that we've seen him not only be a good link-up play for starting counterattacks, but getting on the end of the counterattacks. Where Kevin has had good games offensively, it's him making a forward run into space, onside, something he was not doing at all last year, someone delivering a pinpoint ball that's well weighted to him, and then he creates the pass before the pass before the pass before the shot. So if we had, hockey assist times 3, if the guy who made the fourth to last pass had an assist, then, Kevin Cabral would have 8 assists right now instead of 4. But we finally saw the end product of him not only doing a good job in the build-up play, but also being on the end of those opportunities that he had, like 1v1 with Roman Berkey, that normally he would put right at Roman Berkey. He tucked into the bottom corner. So Chris Armas has done a really good job. He's the first player who he reached out to and asked to meet with Kevin Cabral separately, told him he really liked his game. Here's what you can work on. Here's what you can do to help the team when all the stuff about the finishing and that being, in your own head and everything, you can do well. And if Kevin Cabral is running really hard, making it really difficult for, is it Pancil or Peck who normally plays on the right for Galaxy?
Peck.
It's been Peck recently.
Gabriel Peck. So if Kevin Cabral has no goals, no assists tomorrow, has no shot attempts whatsoever, but he does a good job of starting counterattacks 4 or 5 times throughout the 75, 80 minutes that he'll probably get. I think we'll see some rotation at the winger position late on in the game, and he makes absolutely miserable for Gabriel Peck, then Kevin Cabral's really good. And I think Rapids fans should be happy with him. If Kevin Cabral was making $800,000 right now, which is about what the Rapids are paying him, no one would be upset. The biggest issue right now is he's occupying a DP slot that potentially KSE could go out and spend in another position of value. I have heard that they are looking for another winger, preferably on the left as well. So maybe there's some competition for Kevin to be had in the next couple weeks with some Bombito check money. But things are way better than it was for Kevin Cabral. We had no expectations. We had no standards, and he's been a pleasant surprise, and it's been fun. And Galaxy fans who have any emotional thoughts towards him, I think, should be casually or from a distance, like, happy for him, or at the very least not booing him. But if they want to boo him tomorrow, I get it.
Absolutely. I mean, he's one of the nicest people that I interviewed with the Galaxy. I mean, just such a nice guy and so genuinely happy about life, even though he was going through his troubles when he was here and he couldn't score. You mentioned Moise Bombito a couple of times and the fact that he could leave for some money. I read today a quote that said the Colorado Rapids are a good team that could be great if they spend wisely in the transfer window. So with Moise Bombito money, do you expect them to go ahead and upgrade?
I think so. I think if Moise is sold in this window and there's any time left in the window, I do think the Rapids will use that money relatively quickly, or at least set up a move for January potentially. That could be at the center back position. They like Lalas Abubakar. They believe that Mike Edwards does have a future with the first team as well. He's been a nice player who's been integrated in with the team. Had a really good quote, by the way, the other day as well. And so I think center backs where they're looking at, obviously, Lamine Diack did not work out. They still don't have a true number 6. I think the front office is content right now with Oliver Ross and Connor Ronan. I think they need another different kind of piece to really shut things down. Neither of them is kind of the get stuck in that we were historically used to with Rapids holding midfielders, a Pablo Mastroeni, a Sam Cronin, certainly a Jack Price, former captain for the team. And as I've heard, winger is the other position that they're really looking at. And the fact that, they've got a couple of injuries right now at that position maybe makes it a little bit more urgent. Nothing that'll happen before certainly Wednesday's game or even Saturday against RSL. But I think the Rapids will spend, and certainly that'll be money in, money out. I would expect the Rapids as well to convert, if they are able to go to the max, like 1.2 million-ish in general allocation money, converting the transfer fee in. Porrick Smith loves himself an interleague trade, just like he did with Kevin Cabral as well. So I think we could see some interleague action if the Rapids are able to max out on Bombito's value. And I do think we'll see at least one move internationally, especially with Diak's TAM money freed up. And the Rapids technically right now have an open international roster slot.
Well, like you mentioned, you don't expect any of this to happen before Wednesday when these two teams meet. So let's go ahead and get into it. Match day 27, the Galaxy play Colorado at home. It'll be the 94th time these two teams play each other. LA leads the series with a record of 46, 34, and 13. In league play, they have a 38, 32, 13 advantage. In 42 all-time league matches played at home against the Rapids, the Galaxy hold a 25, 11, and 6 record. The last time they played at the Digs, the Galaxy lost to Colorado 3-1. But then in the last meeting between these two clubs, it was a 0-0 draw on the road at Dick's Sporting Goods Park. And let's go ahead and take a look at where these teams are heading into this match. Through 24 matches, 12, 5, and 7 is the Galaxy's record. They have 44 goals scored for, 32 against. They are on 43 points, third in the Western Conference, tied on first. LAFC and RSL lead because of goal difference and games in hand. They're 5 points behind the leaders, FC Cincinnati, in the Supporters Shield Conference. Supporters Shield race. They are averaging 1.79 points per game, and they are ranked 7th in ESPN's MLS Power Rankings, dropping from 5th. And, of course, Colorado is not far behind them. After 24 matches, they have an 11, 8, and 5 record. They're 4th in the West and 7th in the Supporters Shield on 38 points. They're averaging 1.58 points per game. They are 10th in ESPN's MLS Power Rankings. Their last match was that 1-1 draw against the New York Red Bulls. They're unbeaten in 9 matches, so they are quietly picking up points and chugging along, unbeaten in the last 3. 13 goals scored in the last 4, 1 loss in 7 matches. Interesting fact that I didn't know, they've been awarded the most penalties this season. So Galaxy's defense are going to have to be really, really careful not to make any mistakes. But where the Galaxy could get at them is that they haven't kept a clean sheet in 5 matches. Matt, who do you expect to miss out on this match? Of course, Mihailovic will be out through international duty, but who else is on Colorado's injury list?
There are 2 players who picked up knocks from Saturday's game. Calvin Harris, we learned post game, was carrying a bit of a groin injury, and during pregame warmups, he actually re-aggravated or had something else dealing with that. So he was listed on the substitutes bench and ultimately was made unavailable for that game. And then Omir Fernandez suffered a really tough tackle from Sean Nealis, his former Red Bulls teammate, and he was subbed out as well for an injury. Neither of them are expected to be serious per Chris Armas. That being said, when I was walking outside the locker room to leave from media area as well, I saw Omir Fernandez leaving with a boot over the leg that suffered an injury. So looking at the winger depth right now, Kamani Stewart-Baines just came back from a long-term injury, but he is off with the Canada U20s. He left today from my understanding as well. So the Rapids are thin right now at the winger position. I would expect Kevin Cabral to start and maybe even play 90 minutes potentially. And we could see, I'm not sure who else immediately would play on the right wing position other than maybe Jonathan Lewis. Maybe we see those 2 flip-flop, but the Rapids don't have a lot of winger depth. Otherwise, it's a relatively clean bill of health. There's been a couple of guys who've been out, who've been long-term injuries. But yeah, the Rapids are looking good. Otherwise, I think maybe it's a good question to see if Bombito ends up starting, given that he played and went 120 minutes on Saturday around the same time with Canada, and then obviously was flying back from Charlotte as well. So where are his legs after the international window? Where's his head at, given his potential status with the club and interest to move to France maybe? But if he's not available, or if he is, or if Armas chooses to not start him, I would expect Lawless Abubakar to be there. And Lawless loves a game at the Diggity to be CONCACAF-y, especially if the referee lets him do his thing.
Oh yeah, we've seen Abubakar get CONCACAF at the digs before. Yeah, I did mention Mihailovic. He's obviously gone for international duty, but you know, I think he's been that straw for you guys this year. If you mentioned that it's been the collective, there hasn't been really like a star. I'd say if there has to be a star, it's probably Mihailovic. 21 matches, 10 goals, 6 assists. But obviously he's not there. So who needs to step up to replace him? Who needs to go off to, you know, just kind of fill his boots a little bit?
Kevin Cabral hat trick. I'd love it. No, I think Cole Bassett's
you want to have Galaxy Twitter melt down is what you want.
Yes. I think it's got to be Cole Bassett. He played in the 10 role with Georgie, missing out on the Sunday against St. Louis. And he absolutely cooked. He was fantastic. He combined really well with Kevin Cabral. They have a really good understanding. They love training together. They love being on the same 5v5 or 7v7 team as well. So I would expect Cole to be in the 10 for the 3rd straight game with Georgie unavailable. And that'll really free him up to, we've seen him, he's become a really good 2-way player of almost that Frank Lampard guy coming in a little bit late, going forward in the double pivot. He's freed up when he's in the 10 position. He still presses, but he presses further up. He's closer to the goal. He's dangerous for closer to goal. And then that frees up Oliver Larraz and Connor Ronan to be a little bit more conservative, to then allow one of the fullbacks, usually Sam Vines rather than Keegan Rosenberry, to go forward as well. So I think it's really simple. It's Cole Bassett, and he was fantastic against St. Louis. He was okay against New York Red Bulls. It was really hot. It was a short turnaround. Lots of things going on there. The team acknowledged that the performance wasn't particularly good. We have seen when there's been a disappointing performance, or when the team has dropped points, more so from losses on the road than draws at home, we've seen the Rapids normally jump back relatively well. I've been to many a Tuesday training sessions after a Saturday loss on the road, and you wouldn't know that the Rapids went and lost 4-1 to Portland Timbers or 3-0 to LAFC. So I would expect them to bounce back from a performance standpoint. Again, I'd take a draw right now to get a win on Saturday. We'll see what it looks like at the right winger position.
Well, Ananda, as you know, the Galaxy are carrying a couple of knocks. I mean, the ones that they already had, Gaston Brugman, who is not out through injury, but is still working on his green card process. Dayon still out. We did here. Greg did say that he probably wouldn't be available for both ends of this back-to-back. I'd honestly be surprised if we did see him at all during this 3-game stretch. But if we do, I think this will be the game we see him for. Of course, Julian Aude is out long-term. Johnny Bettis is questionable. Ananda, what do you think that does to Greg's lineup?
Yeah, and a couple other notables too. And I don't think there's any injury concern because I think you were at the presser and a couple of you guys in the media asked them as well. Maya did get subbed off early. That breaks his streak of I think he's played every minute this season, right? It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
But he is perfectly fine. And then Delgado again was taken out just due to precautionary reasons. I mean, no reason when you're playing that terribly to keep those guys in the game, especially when they have to play 3 games in a week. So those guys are fine. But yeah, in terms of the lineup, I mean, it's going to be interesting, right? So we talked about before this 3-game in week stretch, we talked about how would Greg rotate his squad. Well, we saw his first set of cards in his last game, and he did not go with the traditional number 9. So I think one of the interesting things that we have to look at with Greg is he going to start Miguel Berry, a traditional number 9, at that number 9 slot, right? We know what his we know what his deficiencies are. We know what he's not good at, but we also know that he does have some some qualities. Like I said, he's been making that near post run really well. As I said to you before when we did this reaction, I don't think the fact that we didn't start or we didn't have a traditional number 9 or we didn't have Decky at the tip of the spear in those pods, those attacking pods that I was talking about, I don't think that was personnel wise. It wasn't. I think the bigger factor was just the team was just not up to it, right? So I think if we come out with the right energy, I think we got to start Miguel at the number 9, and we just got to see what he brings to the game, see if he can provide some combination play for those attacking pods, whether that's on the left and on the right. And then the wingers have to cook. I mean, JP's been really off this season, or in the last few games, he started off on fire, but recently he's just not. I think his drop in his performance level drop has contributed a lot to sort of the recent struggles, I think, and it's all been on Gabriel Peck's shoulders, right? So the wingers have got to cook, and we've got to find ways to involve those guys. We talked about it a lot this season, getting those guys in and behind the back four, getting those penalty area touches, because if you think about the last 3 games, we've had a lot of our shots, a lot of our chances outside the box, Rob. We haven't had too many clear-cut chances other than a couple clear-cut against Minnesota, but LAFC, a lot of our shots are outside the target, and against Dallas, we only had 1. Right. So it's going to be really important, I think, to get those wingers. Those are our target men. Those are our players to watch out for. Those are dangerous guys. And of course, Riqui. I mean, the debate is still going to rage on, right? Matt always calls it. He called him last year the straw that serves a drink. He really is. But the thing is, in the last few games, I mean, we've seen teams like LAFC figure out ways to neutralize this guy. And he hasn't been, the Riqui, I think, that we all know and love. But again, as we saw in the Minnesota game, it just takes one moment of magic, one brilliant ball over the top to free his teammates, and that's why you got to keep this guy into it. It's going to be real interesting, man, to see how Greg, rotates the squad and how he manages, like I said, the second game of a 3-game in week stretch.
Yeah, and can he finally figure out how to unlock the LA Galaxy lineup formation when Riqui plays and keep that balance that he's always talking about that he wants. Of course, we've seen Diego Fagundes come into that role and provide that balance, and then put together a string of 4 victories in a row when Riqui was out of the lineup. So again, it's one of those things that Greg Vanney needs to figure out that he hasn't yet. We keep on seeing it, and we see it game in and game out because we see Riqui have to drop so far to receive the ball, and obviously that destabilizes this lineup and this formation. Matt, we are going to ask you for a prediction, okay, as usual. But before we do, Ananda is going to go ahead and break us out with some stats to kind of give us a better understanding and maybe make a better and more informed decision here.
Yeah, Matt, you do remember I am the XG merchant of this podcast. So I'm going to try to bring that up as much as possible. And, of course, I think it's going to be interesting for all of us to look at, including Matt. I think if there's anything that jumps out to you or maybe is consistent or not consistent with what your eye test is seeing, and you cover the team on a daily basis as well from the Colorado side. But I think, guys, if you look at offensively, these are 2 really potent offenses. Like, these are really good teams. Now, it'll be interesting, of course, with the lack of Decky and the lack of Georgie on the Colorado side, if how that's going to affect this sort of offensive performances from both teams. But I mean, Rob, you look at all those offensive numbers from Colorado. I mean, they are a good offensive team. Second expected goals at 42.9, right? The Galaxy are actually tied with them neck and neck. Big chances. Colorado is now first in the league at big chances at 74 big chances. LA Galaxy at 68 at number 5. So again, these are two potent offensive teams. And then that great stat that Rob brought up, I don't know if there's a rhyme or reason to it, but yeah, we've got to watch out for that. Colorado, it leads the league at penalties awarded at 10 penalties. So again, one to watch out there for the LA Galaxy side. And then defensively, I think couple things to point out here. One is Rob's talk about the lack of clean sheets lately from Colorado. Again, that's, I think, at home, especially at Dignity Health Sports Park, I think that's, one of the things that we got to get out the blocks quick. We got to get out the blocks early, get into their opponent's half and make them think, have them make them think defensively and create those overloads. Like Greg always says, try to create those offensive, outnumber folks in certain areas of the pitch. Actually conceded. I mean, Colorado is not a bad defensive team. The interesting thing is that Colorado, so they're actually conceded this year is at 34.3. They've actually underperformed. I believe they've given up 38 goals this season. LA Galaxy on the flip side, we've overperformed our actually conceded. So 39.6, which is not great. That's 4th worst in the league. But Rob, thanks to John McCarthy, who's been, his post-shot XG numbers have been off the charts this year. He's kept us in a lot of games. We've only conceded 32 goals. So we've overperformed that by 7 goals. I think, again, that's just a testament to, I think, J-Mac and I think the defense in general. And then this other thing, and I think this is what I'm interested to hear from a Colorado perspective from Matt, is I pulled up the stat, possessions won, final third per match. Rob, you remember when we played LAFC, I pulled up the stat as well because I said LAFC, one of the things they're going to do to us is pressure us high and try to make us, turn the ball over in our defensive position so that their route to goal is really quick, right? And they hit you with those fast breaks, especially with their wingers. It looks like Colorado is a very similar team in that regard. They're number 5 in the league at 5.2 possessions won in the final third per match. So I think that's for us to look at. And again, I'm going to turn it back to Matt to just kind of see how that one plays out. But what that means for us, Rob, and from the Galaxy's perspective, is when we build out, we've got to be careful. We've got to find the right spot. We've got to find those pressure release valves when they do try to win the ball back high and just be tidy in possession, which we were not in Dallas. That was the worst. Like, we're normally known as a possession team, but we were just not at the races. We're losing balls left and right. And that's one we got to watch out for, especially for a team that likes to win the ball high up the pitch.
Actually, funnily, you should mention that the Galaxy still completed almost double the passes that Dallas did. I mean, it was 600 and something to 300 and something. Problem is
backwards,
that,
though.
Yeah, I was about to say, problem was that 315 of those passes were in their own half. So, Matt, yeah. I want to answer that question though. Do you expect Colorado to come out and employ that high press against the Galaxy and see if they can get the ball won high up the pitch?
I think so. I think we've seen Chris Ramos has certainly been much more pragmatic tactically on road games than he has been at home. At home, they're comfortable having the ball, teams being a little bit more defensive and then throwing numbers at them. We saw that against St. Louis. We saw it a little bit against New York Red Bulls as well. But certainly on the road, they're closer to a St. Louis or to a Red Bulls or a Philadelphia Union, where they'll come out, be a little pragmatic and try to not press in terms of being high, but as soon as you reach the halfway point, they'll certainly come after you. So to your point earlier, Ananda as well, I would fully expect the Rapids are going to target Riqui Puig in this one as well. Connor Ronan, Cole Bassett, all of the Raws, that midfield triangle as well. They're going to do everything they can to make Ricky's life absolutely miserable. And if that leads to, maybe a couple hard fellows, maybe somebody gets a yellow card, but him creating absolutely nothing for the run of play, then I think the Rapids are happy. And I think they trust that they like what they're going to be able to do out wide. Kevin Cabral, certainly we'll see what happens at the right as well. And then Sam Vines, I think they'll like their chances going forward against a Rapids defense that is against a Galaxy defense that is maybe missing some players with Galaxy's wingers a little bit further up. Ananda, do you want to guess who leads the Colorado Rapids in penalties drawn with 4 of the 10 this year?
Mr. Cabral.
It is Kevin Cabral as well, so look out for that.
Yes.
Oh man. Who's playing on that side? Mickey Yamane, right? You better. Hey, he gave up that phantom penalty to Boanga, but Mickey's got to watch out for sure.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's no secret the Galaxy defense has its deficiencies. They can be got at, and Julian gave up a penalty a couple weeks ago. Yamane gave up one. So something to watch. Could be the Revenge of Cabral Tour Part 2. He has already scored against the Galaxy. So he scored in that 3-1 actually loss last time Colorado was at the Digs. So Galaxy fans, I mean, you might have to put up with Kevin Cabral scoring on his old club again. Matt, you mentioned that Cole Bassett's the one to watch for Colorado. I mean, I should know more, but unfortunately, I don't know enough about him. But the Brazilian striker, and you pronounce his name correctly because you have the Brazilian pronunciation. I was just straight up going to be like Rafael Navarro, but I know that's not how you say it. Can you go hit us with that one more time?
Rafael Navarro.
Yeah, there we go.
You just want to call him Hafa. He's not offended by that as well. And to answer producer Herb's question, I'm not related to former Sacramento center Scott Pollard. However, I found this out through I can't remember which D. It wasn't 23andMe and everything. I am second cousins, I think twice removed from, I can't remember his first name. His last name is Pollard, and he played for the Dallas Burn in 1996. We are distant, relatives of relatives of relatives with him. But no, I'm not. I'm far too short to be related to Scott Pollard.
MLS connection.
I'm closer to being related to Messi, height-wise.
Oh man, if you were closer to being related to Messi, man, I mean, everyone would be like, Pollard, what's up? But about Navarro,
yes.
Tell me more about him, his 11 goals and 4 assists, and then also, because that immediately jumped out at me. Of course, I had been looking at Cole Bassett as well, but it seems like this is the kind of striker that could get something from the Galaxy. And then, tell me about him, but as well, you mentioned Puig, so we'll bypass him. But who are you most afraid of on the Galaxy besides Riqui Puig?
Yes, so Rafael Navarro has been absolutely fantastic for the Rapids. He's a very, very good presser. All the things that you wanted to see from a striker, he did last year, with the exception of the goal scoring. He comes into a team that's producing less than 1 XG per game, and he gets 1 goal, and it's a garbage goal off of a set piece that hits the post at FC Niles, and that was his 1 goal contribution for his, the first half of his loan with the Rapids. He's come in, he's got a really great attitude, he presses well, he is an absolute nightmare for center backs to deal with, and even when he's not creating offense for himself, he occupies the opponent's defense to then leave space for other people as well. I'm really happy with the technical quality of his ball skills. No surprise being a Brazilian, but in particular, he's really good at receiving a bad pass that's a little bit inaccurate, and he's got a defense to deal with, and simply controlling the ball and then giving up a softball to a teammate to then make it really easy. So he gets not a lot of support. He's on Navajo Island. He's on Maya Yoshida Island. And he's absolutely struggling with how teammates are getting him the ball. And he very seamlessly is able to deal with those situations and then make it really easy on the teammates around him. So Cole Bassett gives him the crappy pass. He plays his way out of the possession and then gives off a really easy pass to Omer Fernandez, Kevin Cabral, and the Rapids are able to continue that attack. What's been really good more recently, I'll say from like the NYCFC game in May as well, is the team's done a better job of getting big chances to him. He doesn't have a signature goal. There's not something that he obviously does really well. And normally that might be a concern, but he does everything pretty well decently. He's good on set pieces. He's not great on set pieces. He's good in transition. He creates goals from being a fox in the box as well. But if you go back and you look at his, super grainy highlight reel footage from his time in Brazil that's set to trashy techno pop music or whatever, like he doesn't, they'll show 10 goals in a row that he scores and maybe only 2 of them have any similarities to them. So right foot, left foot, header, in transition, in possession, poacher, set piece or whatever, his, run up stutter step penalty that is maybe a trademark for infringement on Joseph Martinez and everything. He scores in a bunch of different ways. And that makes it really easy for the Rapids, for whatever's working, for them to suit that to creating chances for him. That being said, He played really fantastically and finally got the transfer, big paycheck, DP, 3.5-ish million in guaranteed dollars from the Rapids to Palmeiras, and he has not scored in the 4 games since then. He's gotten some opportunities. A lot of that for me has been, I think, defense is playing around him to then leave chances for everybody else. He doesn't get a goal contribution against St. Louis City, but that leads to a goal and assist for Kevin Cabral and for Cole Bassett. They were able to deal with it. Obviously, the easy answer for who scares me the most on the Galaxy is Riqui Puig. But I think if we're bypassing that to talk about the nuance as well, from the games that I've seen, I think Gabriel Peck has been really fantastic. And where the Rapids have had issues recently defensively is where their rest defense isn't set up to deal with the transition moment for the opponent. And teams, maybe they're really good going down their right, the Rapids left, but for some reason for me, they seem to be having more fun attacking Sam Vines directly than they have Keegan Rosenberry, or going up between the center backs and the double pivot in the midfield as well. Sam Vines had a really bad play against Sporting Kansas City where they were kind of knocking the ball around the middle and the ball's coming to Eric Tommy and Vines anticipates it. Lawless Abubakar's right there and Vines goes to Eric Tommy, who then passes it to Johnny Russell, who is where Sam Vines was, and then is able to score. So that's a concern for me. The other thing that's been an issue for the Rapids defense is when they collapse due to the opponent getting really forward, then the center backs are too close to Zach Steffen in goal, and there's a gap between the center backs and the midfielders as well. And Ollie LaRose's man marking hasn't been particularly good. That leaves somebody open for a cross. You saw that for the goal that Red Bull scored and also the goal that St. Louis scored as well. So a late run in the box from a Diego Fagundes from a central position standpoint, that would concern me. But if I'm picking up an individual, it's Gabriel Peck, and if Sam Vines plays his best game of the season, then maybe they'll be okay. Maybe Kevin Cabral has to be more defensive in order to deal with him, and if that means the Rapids have to attack up the middle with Cole Bassett, I think Chris Armas can live with that.
Ananda, we're almost ready for predictions here. Chat, start dropping them. Y'all know what to do. Go ahead and let us know who you think is going to win this match. But obviously, there are some betting odds we want to get through, and bet responsibly.
Yep. So courtesy of Las Vegas. Well, actually, DraftKings. So DraftKings has this game at -110 for the LA Galaxy and plus 235 for the Rapids. So that is about a 51% chance. Of course, the Galaxy is the home team. 51% chance win probability. And then they're giving the Rapids not too bad of a percentage, Rob. You know, we always see these in the high teens or low 20s. A 29% chance. Again, these are two teams very close to each other in the Western Conference. You know, this is a team. This is a game that you look on the calendar, and we, as Galaxy fans, even at home, we say this is going to be a tough game, even without the presence of Georgi Mihailovic on their team. Again, this is going to be a tough one. So I think predictions. Well, if you would have asked me before the last game, Rob, I would have felt good about this game. But now I'm like, like we don't have Decky, couple missing pieces. I mean, we're at home. Hopefully, we get that home cooking. But I was pretty confident before the last game, but now I'm like, eek. So
it's a midweek match. I mean, there's not going to be as many supporters there. It's going to be a funny one. Well, I think it's time for predictions, guys, and I think we will let our illustrious guests go first. But before you drop us with your knowledge and your prediction, go ahead and let these folks know where they can find you, man.
Yeah, you can find most of my Rapids written work at this point at Burgundy Wave. You can follow me on Twitter at LWSMattPollard. It's at Burgundy Wave on all of our socials for the purpose of the site. And Rabbi and I will be recording tomorrow. So depending on what your commute looks like for Wednesday morning, you can listen to Holding the High Line wherever you get your podcasts. We're on a bunch. And then on Believe.com, BLEAV, if you're looking for the web version of that. Rob, I would love a 1-1 draw on this one, but I am concerned about the winger depth and the injuries at that position, and I think that Jonathan Lewis is an okay substitute. I don't know that he's a great starter at the winger position, so I have concerns about what the Rapids attack is going to look like and continuity of their staff as well. And I have to think, even if it's not being talked about or intentional, that certainly all of the players and the coaching staff are very much thinking about the derby on Saturday, especially with the news today that Chicho Rongo, who's been an absolute Rapids killer, is not going to be available. I think every single person in Rapids land, again, multiple red cards, multiple penalties, a 6-0. Like give me Joe Nasco at this point, like 6-second red card against Alan Gordon in 2014. If that is the blood sacrifice to get a win against RSL on Saturday, every single Rapids fan is taking it. I will take a 1-0 Galaxy victory, and it will be Riqui Puig on a set piece.
Alrighty, guys. Well, we do have some predictions coming in, but really quick to answer Tony Toscano's question. Anyone know if I can buy the third kit online? I won't be able to go to the Team LA store due to work. I believe so, Tony. I believe those go on sale online at 10 a.m. I'm not 100 on that. This is just what I've seen through a couple of different sources. So, yes, you can buy it online. I don't know 100% on the time, but I believe 10 a.m.
Ananda, ditch work, like GCam says. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, ditch work. Let's do it. I mean, I'll ditch work too. Let's go make it happen. But Ananda, let's go ahead and bring up some of these predictions here from the folk.
There's the first one. So 3-2 Galaxy, Tony Toscano. GCam saying Galaxy 1. He's going with the same scoreline as Matt. He's saying fatigue will play a huge factor. Garces going to have a good game. Interesting.
GCam calling a Garces playing in this one. I'd be interested to see if he might start in this one. Who knows?
Yeah. But Rob, you know what? I'm gonna go with you because I'm not gonna let you off the hook. You made me do my prediction last time. You're gonna go this time.
I'm calling a 3-2. I'm calling a 3-2. Fatigue. Second game of 3 in the week. The defense hasn't been 100% all year. They've been consistent. So yeah, they're going to give up goals, but I think at the end of the day, they're going to get goals themselves. And so yeah, I'm calling a 3-2.
Put some names on the goals, Rob.
Ooh, put some names on the goal. I think JP will break out of the funk. He'll get a goal. I think Gabriel Pecky will get a goal as well. And then I think Miguel Berry is going to get the game winner.
Wow, that's a big shout. Okay.
And then a Kevin Cabral brace.
There you go. to send Galaxy Twitter into meltdown. Absolutely. I'm going to go for a Galaxy win also, but I'm going to go with a very narrow 2-1. I feel like, Rob, this game has very similar vibe, or it's going to have similar vibes to our last game at the Digs, which was a very narrow victory, a 2-1 victory over Minnesota. Whereas there's going to be stretchers where it's going to be dicey. We're going to be really nervous. Galaxy Twitter is going to go into a halftime meltdown at some point. But I think the quality,
always.
I think over 90 minutes, I think it's interesting. I'm also factoring into Matt's thinking here around they're really thinking about their derby, which, by the way, I hope you guys win because we need as much help as we can get. But anyways, yeah. So I think that, Rob, I mean, those things play into account, right? And then on our end, of course, Greg's got to manage the squad. But given its substitution patterns, he subbed Maya off early. He subbed Mark Delgado early. You know what? I'm not going to be surprised if he puts in like a Tucker Lepley or even a Parente to start on that midfield. Remember, Rob, at RSL away, he started Tucker Lepley in a double pivot. I believe next to, was it Delgado, Serio? Can't remember, but he played well. He played well in that 45 minutes. And, I think about the strength of that midfield on the other end. Matt's talked about it. They're very athletic. They're committed in the challenge. And so
we need the energy.
You need legs and you need energy. And Tucker Lepley, he's very good technically on the ball. He's very neat and tidy. Give him 45 minutes at least to control the game and kind of see. And then, go from there. But I think, yeah, so you might see that. You might see that curveball again. Greg seems like he's been giving his young guys a little bit of a chance lately. But yeah, 2-1 nervy victory. I don't think it's going to be convincing, but who cares? We're at the gate. We're at that stretch. We're at that last team game of the season. All we need is points. That's all I care about right now is results and getting a top seed in the West. So
GCam does let us know that Tucker Big Lep played for VCFC yesterday. GCam, do you know if he went the full 90? Because obviously, if he went the full 90, then that'll inhibit that. His start. But it could be Parente, like you said. But guys, I mean, all three of us are calling victories for the Galaxy. Matt's calling a 1-0. Ananda's calling a 2-1. I'm calling a 3-2. Either way you slice it, it's Galaxy getting 3 points. And yes, I agree with you. If it means that you guys give us 3 points tomorrow, then yes, go get that derby win on Saturday, right? Yeah, I think that brings us towards the end of the show, Ananda. Guys, after Colorado, the Galaxy is still at home versus Portland on Saturday, July 20th at 7:45 p.m. I believe this is the latest kickoff for the Galaxy all year. This is the last of 3 games in a week and the last game before Leagues Cup. After this match, only 8 matches left in the year. So go ahead and stick with us here for the reaction pod for Colorado / preview for Portland on Thursday, July 18th. And of course, we'll have the reaction for Portland on Monday, July 22nd. Matt, anything else that the Galaxy fans need to look out for ahead of this match?
Nothing that I can think of, to be honest with you. I think we covered it all.
Let's get it, guys. Well, we want to say thank you once again to our good friend of the show, Matt Pollard, and fellow Antelope Valleyan. Is that correct? Antelope Valleyan?
Santa Clarita.
Fellow 661er. How about that one?
Yeah, how about that?
Yeah.
No, Rob, I've added to my soccer bucket list the team that's coming to the hangar, the old Jethawk Stadium. I want to go see a game there.
Oh, absolutely, man.
Rest in peace, Lancaster Jethawks.
And then what? Do you remember what the mascot was named? He was a hawk as well.
Oh yeah,
that's some
KB
trivia.
Kaboom.
Ah, yes.
Let's go.
Ooh, KB, yes. And let me just say that sidebar, I was very jealous of your Raquinho drip.
Yes.
I mean, we like I said, we talk about you on the show quite often. We did bring that up because I'm all about Raquinho, baby. And so when you had the drip, I was like, damn, I'm jealous.
No, I snagged that before I think they got shut down for copyright infringement. But it was really funny. It was right after the Raquinho game. There was a video. Animals going around in Colorado up in the mountains and everything, inherently shenanigans happen, sometimes bear related, sometimes elk related. And so like a week later, there was a viral video of a kid playing soccer in his backyard up in Estes Park, which is a common hiking area. And like he kicked a ball to an elk and like the elk kicked it back. And I don't know if they understood it, like that one of the deer that puts the ball into the net or whatever. And so like Rapids Twitter lost it and everything. It's like, okay, we've got our animal response to Raquinho and everything. They have a trash panda and we have an elk and everything. So perfect timing and everything. Hiking season's been going. So it's been good.
I wonder what the animal du jour is going to be for Los Angeles. I shudder to think. But anyway, we'll always have Raquinho, and we'll get to share Raquinho together, man. But yeah, thank you so much once again for hanging out with us. We appreciate it. You told us everything we needed to know about Colorado, and good luck over the weekend against RSL. Chat, say big ups and thank you to Matt Pollard for being with us once again. Ananda, anything to add before we get on out of here?
Well, real quick. So GCam did say Tucker played 62 minutes. So there you go. You never know. But no, just want to say thank you to Matt, of course, for hanging out with us again. And thank you to chat as always. And we'll see you guys hopefully on when we're doing the next show, Rob, on Thursday, after hopefully a Galaxy win. So Sad Foods Hours is over. Group therapy session hopefully will only be on for today. Group therapy will be canceled on Thursday, and we will be celebrating. Vamos la fiesta. Vamos.
Chat, we love you guys. LA Galaxy fans, we love you guys. Until we meet again, one thing left to say. G's up. You and I.